Hi everybody, this is Deanna Bailey with the Texas Blockchain Summit, and I'm here with Congressman Warren Davidson from Ohio, and we're talking all things Bitcoin. So, Congressman, thank you for being here, and what are you thinking of Austin so far?
It's awesome. I have a great time in Austin. Texas is a great place. Almost as good as Ohio, but they do have some better laws. So.
Yeah. Well, especially when it comes to blockchain and Bitcoin, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So tell me about how you feel about Bitcoin. Like, what is your passion? Like, some congressmen and delegates are a little skeptical of it, but I understand that's not really your perspective.
Well, I've been trying to get Congress to do something right about Bitcoin for the whole time I've been there. Of course, that's not the main issue for any congressional district, really, but it is an incredibly important issue. And I tell people back home, like, look, America dominated in agriculture, the Industrial Revolution. We led in automobiles, in aviation, in aerospace, and computing, in the internet. Why wouldn't we want to lead in fintech?
Yeah.
And right now, this is the fintech revolution, and really, Bitcoin dominates this space, which went from nothing 12 years ago to $2.5 trillion in market share right now.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. It's the sixth largest currency in the world and does over $60 billion in transactions a day. So, I mean, it's only second to Visa, and I think a lot of people miss that.
With massively more privacy.
Yeah.
And I think this is the other thing. The Fourth Amendment, which is America's, Fourth Amendment in the Bill of Rights, protects privacy. And with your financial system right now, we don't have privacy. We have people that are trying to use all of our money as a means of control. And they still don't feel like they have enough. That's why they want to take the IRS reporting requirement in current legislation, right?
It's horrible.
So Bitcoin is truly privacy. And I tell people, like, you can't defend freedom unless you defend sound money. Sound money protects privacy.
Yeah, it always frustrated me, the fact that our entire system is built on these, our credit system, right? And there's no privacy to it. So if I get hacked and somebody does all my stuff and I don't know how to fix that, I'm penalized and I'm paying more money, I have higher interest rates, maybe I don't get housing. And I feel like Bitcoin kind of solves a lot of those issues through the privacy.
Yeah, and look, it is a system that has ways to engage for people that are new to it, that is account-based, much like a bank. You can set up an account with any number of companies. I won't promote any one of them.
Right.
But you have an account with them, much like you would have with your bank or maybe your investment savings account. Very similar. So almost no transition, you just set up an account there. And increasingly, people will probably be able to do that with their existing financial institutions, because the market share of Bitcoin in particular, but crypto is broadly growing.
Yeah.
And so for other people, though, you can have truly permissionless transactions like you can with cash and protect the privacy. So if you and I engage in a two-party transaction with cash, our banks don't need to know about it. The government doesn't need to know about it. No one can filter that transaction.
Right.
We have some level of privacy. And I think that's one of the most important things that we're fighting for in Congress right now, because some of my colleagues don't like that. They see that as a flaw of this digital space, is they want to keep it account-based and increase the surveillance state spying on our fellow citizens.
Of course. That sounds about right. What do you think, how far are we from actually embracing a digital currency within the U.S.?
The Federal Reserve's coming out with a white paper in the fall. Should be maybe late October, early November. But if you look, the Bank of International Settlement in Switzerland, they're the central banker for the central banks. They've put out a number of papers already, and the scary thing is what they're putting out in their research is essentially China's version, which is centralized control. It is the creepiest surveillance tool known to man, where the central bank literally processes the transactions.
Yeah.
They know everything about everyone who conducts a transaction, and in theory could filter it. In China, they're linking it to their social credit system, which you don't get credit based on your ability to repay. You get credit based on whether or not the Chinese Communist Party thinks you're a good citizen or not.
Yeah.
And I have to say that some of my colleagues in Congress envy that system that they're developing in China, and that's the system that they want.
Yeah.
So that's a really scary prospect. And in America, look, we're the land of opportunity. We didn't become the land of opportunity because we were an oppressive country. We're the land of freedom.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about Bitcoin. To me, it's like freedom money.
Yeah, liberty for all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting, you see these big social conglomerates like Google, Facebook, and the privacy invasion that we're having in them and how they're able to skew what we're able to see. And you start tying that into the financial system the way that you're talking about, and it just opens up a whole nother world of problems for us. And then do you really want the government knowing everything you're spending and where you're spending it? And it almost seems counterintuitive to the intent behind cryptocurrency, right? Like,
yeah, and I think there are a lot of misnomers. So like some of my colleagues will say, oh, we don't want that much privacy. No, you can still get a warrant. There's a way to find this. So if you look at like the Colonial pipeline hack, it's literally on the blockchain. You could follow all the moves until there's an exit. And that's how they solved the Colonial pipeline hack. They followed the money. And if you really wanted to get away with something and keep it secret, why would you put it on a chain? Now, it is private, and so you have to have some discovery process to do that. But there are companies that are really good at that. And that's the system that America used to have, which is we had some level of privacy. The government could get a warrant and find, well, who is behind this? But in this case, they've grown so accustomed to being able to see everything without a warrant that a lot of people are trying to preserve that system, and that's where there are people within our government that are trying to stop true privacy with your financial matters.
Yeah, it's a tricky road to navigate, right? And it's emerging technology, so it's ever changing, and trying to stay, competitive and abreast to the way it's developing, I think is a challenge, especially for some people in our government, because they're probably just not that tech savvy. I mean,
well, a lot of people aren't that tech savvy, but look, a lot of people don't even know how aspirin works, but if you have a headache, you take it.
That's right. Yeah, that's
so
right.
So you don't have to understand exactly how it works, you just need to know that it does work.
Right.
And this is a much more secure way. It is the blockchain architecture really has a chance to revolutionize cybersecurity as well. Yeah. So it establishes trust in a different way, and you can tell people don't understand it. So for example, Senator Rob Portman led the infrastructure bill, and he put language in to the infrastructure bill that regulates crypto and calls essentially everyone that touches this a broker.
Right.
Well, it's really problematic. For one, it creates reporting requirements, but to two, it creates reporting requirements that aren't even technologically feasible with a blockchain network, because he doesn't understand how the structure works, nor did anyone else that supported keeping that language in the bill.
Right. It's almost like somebody who wrote banking software. Now you're requiring them to know KYC and AML on all the banking customers, even though the bank's using the software and the coder just wrote it. But it's essentially the same kind of reporting requirements. I think that got slipped into that bill.
Yeah, and so if you look at networks, people that say have a node on a Lightning network, there is no way that you could actually comply with the requirement. Now they gave speeches on the floor of the Senate that says no, this isn't meant to apply to any of these folks, but they were unwilling to change the text of the bill. So there were amendments offered in the Senate that weren't able to be considered or debated. In the House, we haven't really gotten there yet.
Right.
But hopefully we can fix this. But to your point, there are people that really don't understand the tech, but yet they're passionate about regulating it. Like, no, first understand, then regulate. And we've had a bill called the Taxonomy Act since 2018. It's bipartisan. We've kept it 100% bipartisan the whole way. But we haven't been able to get a hearing or a debate on the bill or votes on the bill. But it really would solve a lot of the problems we're having right now with the SEC as an example.
Well, I can tell you personally, as somebody within the blockchain space, I commend you and thank you very much for spearheading this in Congress for us. It is a fascinating industry to be a part of, and I believe it's revolutionary tech. And if the U.S. would just embrace it in the right way, we would still be the front runner when it comes to all these industries that you had mentioned before. So thank you from us. We appreciate your movement and everything that you're doing. And is there anything you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for highlighting it. And look, one of the companies that I'll highlight, not as a way to promote the company, but to illustrate the problem. FTX.com, if you go there and you're not an American, you can access a whole suite of products. But for the American citizens, you have FTX.us. And why wouldn't we be able to have as great of a product as everyone else in the world? It's because our regulatory system isn't letting this flourish in America. So you have American citizens launching their ideas outside of America instead of in America. And if we don't correct this, we're going to lose out on the innovation. Imagine if we did the same kind of approach to the internet. It could have flourished in France instead of America.
Yeah,
and we would still have the internet, it just wouldn't be in America.
Right, agreed. I completely agree. And that Tom Brady's thing, right? FTX?
FTX is something he's gone into. A lot of people are. It's growing like crazy, but so are lots of companies and lots of use cases. It's so early. This is the thing. Look, in 1990, there was a dot-com bubble. right? But there are companies that went bust in 1999 because there were great ideas, they were just too soon. Right now, in 30 years past the internet, we haven't tapped all the use cases. Blockchain is in its infancy. There are going to be a gazillion use cases if we don't choke them out with bad regulation.
Yeah, I agree completely. Well, thank you, Senator Warren Davidson from Ohio. I appreciate the time to talk with you.
Thank you, really appreciate it.
Yeah, same here.